Hey everyone, in this plant video we will be talking about the 3 plant families that are assigned reading for this week, so they should be finished by April 8th. The first one is the violet family, the second one is Anacardiaceae, the cashew family, and the third one is Amaryllidaceae, or the Amaryllis family, which also has onions in them. Before we get into that, I want to remind you to go to your curriculum and check out the Mycological Society website and see if there's any mycological clubs in your area that you might be interested in joining, or just to get in contact with them to see if they have any mushroom forays that you can attend. These are some of the best ways to get to know mushrooms. A group of people get together, go out into a selected area, harvest mushrooms for about an hour to an hour and a half, bring them back, and then you all, with some professionals, go through and ID every single one of the mushrooms that you found. This is one of the best ways that I've learned to identify mushrooms, and really is a great way to get a jump start on your learning. So enough of that, on with the plant families. First one we're going to read about is Violaceae. Now remember, ACA means family, so this is the Viola family. And these obviously include your violets. They also include Johnny Jump-Ups and pansies. Now these have slightly irregular flowers, so they are only, if you cut them in half, you could only have it be symmetrical one way. You couldn't cut them in half this way. They wouldn't be symmetrical top to bottom. They have 5 petals, and then if you look closer, they have 5 sepals and 5 stamens. The leaves are often heart-shaped, although there's a lot of different violet species, and some of them have more palm-shaped leaves and other kind of leaves. But to start, look for heart-shaped leaves that are glossy and irregular flowers with 5 petals. If you look up a picture of a violet, you've probably seen it before. I'll try to load up some pictures of violets as well. These plants flower in the early spring, and basically any time that there's not snow on the ground, you can find their greens out. They're a great, delicious edible. When you chew on the leaf, you get a little bit of a kind of slimy feeling in your mouth. It's called mucilaginous. That's fine. It's just how it tastes, kind of like okra. It's delicious. I really like the flavor. It's very nutritious, and it's a great green for spring, fall, and winter. You can also use the flowers as a botanical bling or something to decorate whatever you're going to eat. My teacher, Mark, who edited Botany in a Day, says that your first bite is with your eyes, so you want to really gussy up your food with some flowers. Flowers also tend to be higher in, I believe it's phosphorus. I think that's what partly what goes in making all those amazing colors. Next plant family that I really want you to know, more for one of its individual members, but it's the cashew family, Anacardiaceae. Now in this family we have cashews, mangoes, pistachios, sumac, but also poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac. So if you've ever had yourself or a friend go to a tropical place where there's mangoes everywhere, and as you're eating the mangoes you start to get that red rash around your mouth, that is the same oil that is in poison ivy. It's an oil called urushiol. And some people are allergic to it, some people aren't. It's not a toxic reaction, it's an allergic reaction. So it's actually your body's response to that oil. I've noticed that for people who have stronger reactions, or when I've reacted more strongly to poison ivy, is more when I'm stressed or I'm not eating as well, or just kind of something else is causing my body to be a little more on high alert. So that might be something to look at if you are pretty strongly susceptible. It's also an allergic reaction, so that could be just a fluke. In terms of identifying poison ivy, you want to know this plant before you start touching all the other plants. They have 3 leaflets. I'll upload a link on its identification, but there's 3 leaflets. So it's like one leaf that's split up into 3, and there's the side 2 leaves that come right off of the stem, and then in the middle there's a little stem that has the final leaf. So that middle stem that's extending that central leaflet is one of the key ID factors. The leaves tend to be glossy. They can sometimes be red, but very often shiny. The margin of the leaf can be toothed, it can be entire, it can be all sorts of different shapes. It's kind of a tricky one for that identification. It can be a low-lying herb, it can be a shrub, it can be a vine, and it can sometimes look like a tree because its branches can reach off of its vine 3, 4, 5 feet. So you really want to just be careful looking out for those shiny leaves, and when it's in a vine, you'll notice that it has lots of little red hairs coming off of it, attaching it to the tree. So in winter, if you're going through the woods and you see a vine that has red leaves, red little tendrils coming off of it, or even you're just walking in the summer and you see it, that is poison ivy, don't touch it. All parts of the plant can have that urushiol in it, so you just Don't really want to touch it if you know that you have a reaction to it. If you do touch it, you can wash the oil off within about 20 minutes with like a strong dish soap, or they sell something in the pharmacies called Techno. It's basically just strong dish soap. But yeah, wash it off and you should be good. That oil can get transferred to your clothes. You can get it from your dogs or your cats. So if they rub on it and then they rub you, you can get poison ivy, rash. But humans are the only animals that seem to be allergic to this plant. And you don't really notice it in more older growth forests or anything like that. It really tends to be on the edges of woodlands or in places where it's disturbed. So you have a plant that only humans react to, that only grows in disturbed areas. So it almost functions as nature's caution tape, saying, you've done your damage, stay out for a little bit, let's let other things come in. It's a great pollinator plant. It's got really beautiful little green flowers. I can upload a picture of that. And the birds really like their seeds. So even though it is something that we might not personally like rubbing up against, it's a really good plant to know and to have around as well. The next plant family is the Amaryllis plant family, Amaryllidaceae. I want you to know this one less for the Amaryllis subfamily and more for the Alioideae. So these are your alliums, or your garlics and onions. And the way I like to identify my garlic and onion wild plants is that if it looks like an onion and it smells like an onion, it's an onion. If it looks like an onion and it doesn't smell like an onion, it's not an onion. Don't eat it. That could be hyacinths or daylilies. Daylilies are edible, hyacinths are not. Or daffodils, which are in this plant family. Snowdrops as well, and some other more ephemeral bulb-forming plants are in this plant family. The flowers have 3 sepals and 3 petals that are the same color. So we said before that sepals often are green. They're on the outside of the flower, and petals are on the inside. These have 3. It's kind of hard to tell which are which, but the petals are technically on the inside of the sepals, and they're the same color. So you can think of like a Easter lily or anything like that. They have those 3 petals. So yeah. In terms of the alliums, they're wild onions. There's a species called Allium vineale, Vineale. Those are very common in lawns. If you see lawns, you have those longer tufts that just come up randomly. Those could be this wild onion. The leaves are hollow and round, and they'll have a little umbel of a flower at the end that has that 3 petals and 3 sepals characteristic, but repeated all over the umbel. So lots of individual flowers coming off of that one stalk. The bulbs are edible. The whole plant is edible. So that's a really good one to know. You can basically not have to buy onion or garlic until June if you have this one around. And if you do have it in your gardens, you can cultivate it and encourage it to come back. So those are your violets, amaryllis, and what's the other one? Cashew family. So read those by April 8th and check out your local mushroom club and see if you can join that. Until next time.